My father spent 41 years building everything he owned. And in a single afternoon, 3 weeks before he died, he gave almost all of it away. Not to us, his own children. To people none of us had ever met. I was 26, standing in that hospital room, and my hands were shaking. Not from grief yet, but from something uglier I'm ashamed to admit. But here's the part nobody in our family saw coming. The one condition he attached to what was left. My father didn't give his fortune away to punish us. He did it to teach us the one lesson he was terrified we'd never learn in time. His name was Walter. To the world, he was just a machinist who clocked into the same plant outside Dayton, Ohio, for 38 years. He never made more than a modest paycheck. When we were kids, he raised the three of us on less than $9,000 a year. He cut his own hair. He drove the same rust-colored truck until the floorboards gave out. And every payday, he tucked a little into an envelope taped under the kitchen drawer. We used to laugh at him for it. We thought he was just being cheap. We had no idea what he was building. Or why. What we didn't understand. What he never told us until the very end. Was that Walter had watched money destroy the only family he ever had. When his own father passed, there was a small piece of land and a little savings. And he watched his three brothers stop speaking over it. Lawyers. Slammed doors. A Thanksgiving table that got emptier every year until no one was left to sit at it. He buried two of those brothers without ever hearing their voices again. That silence haunted him his whole life. And he swore it would never happen to his own kids. So, when the doctors said there wasn't much time left, my father did something I've never heard of anyone else doing. He didn't call a lawyer first. He called the three of us home. My sister flew in from Phoenix. My brother drove through the night from Chicago. And I'll be honest. I came home already doing the math in my head, wondering what my share would be. On that long drive home, I caught myself pricing the house in my head, imagining what I'd finally pay off. That's the truth, and I'm not proud of it. But I think you have to understand how small I was that day, to understand how much he was about to grow me. We sat in the living room we grew up in. My father, thin as a winter branch, set a single folder on the coffee table. He looked at us for a long moment. Then he said, "I've already given it away. All of it. Every dollar I saved for 41 years. The room went silent. He'd placed nearly everything. The envelopes, the house we thought he'd sell, the little retirement account, into a community fund that helps families in our town survive medical bills they can't pay. Strangers. He gave it to strangers. I won't lie about what happened next, because that's the part that matters most. My brother stood up and walked out. My sister started crying. Not the sad kind, the angry kind. And me? I just sat there as something cold spread through my chest. We'd spent our whole lives believing that envelope under the drawer would someday be ours. In one sentence, he'd taken it away. I looked at the father I loved, and for one terrible moment, all I could feel was that he had robbed me. And that's when he slid the folder across the table. "There's one condition," he said. One thing I kept. Inside were 3 sealed envelopes, one with each of our names. And the house. He hadn't given that away after all. But we couldn't open the envelopes. Not yet. His condition was this. For 1 year, the 3 of us had to come back to that house. 1 Sunday a month. 12 dinners. No phones. No lawyers. No talk of money. Just us. At the table he and our mother bought the year we were born. "Do that," he said, "and you can open them. Walk away now, and they get burned." I asked him why. Why make us jump through hoops for whatever scraps were left? He reached over, put his rough hand on mine, and said something I'll carry until the day I die. "Son, I'm not trying to give you money. I've watched money turn brothers into strangers. I'm trying to give you back the only thing that'll matter when I'm gone. Each other. I just had to make sure you'd show up for it." He died 19 days later. After the funeral, the 3 of us stood in the driveway, barely speaking. We could have walked away. Part of me wanted to. But those 3 envelopes sitting in that empty house, we couldn't let them burn. So we agreed. 1 Sunday a month. We'd do the year. The first dinner was awful. And I want you to hear that, because if your family is broken right now, it doesn't fix itself overnight. We sat at that table like strangers at a bus stop. My sister and brother barely looked at each other. We ate in 20 minutes and left. The second dinner was a little longer. By the 4th, my sister brought our mother's old pot roast recipe. By the 6th, my brother was laughing so hard at a story about Dad's rust-colored truck that he had to leave the table. By the 7th, we stayed 2 hours past the dishes, and nobody once reached for a phone. None of us said it out loud, but we'd started to look forward to Sundays. Somewhere in the middle of that year, something I can't fully explain started to happen. We stopped checking our watches. We started staying late. We talked about things we'd never said. The resentments, the old wounds, the times we felt forgotten. We grieved our father together, instead of alone. By the 11th dinner, my brother and I were calling each other on regular weekdays, just to talk. Something we hadn't done in over a decade. I remember the 9th dinner especially. It was raining, and the power flickered out halfway through. We lit the same candles our mother used to keep in the kitchen drawer, and in that half-dark, my sister finally told us something she'd carried for 20 years. That she'd always felt like the invisible one, the middle child Dad never really saw. And my brother, this big, stubborn man, reached across the table and held her hand, and told her she was wrong. I watched 2 people I thought I'd known my whole life become real to me in a single moment. No amount of money has ever made me feel as rich as I did sitting in that dark kitchen. And then came the 12th dinner. The year was over. We sat at that table. The same table. And finally, with shaking hands, we opened the envelopes. There was no check inside, no account number, no fortune. Inside each envelope was a letter written in our father's careful hand, and one folded document. The letter told each of us, in his own words, what he'd been most proud of in us. Things he never managed to say out loud while he was alive. And the document? Years earlier, quietly, without telling a soul, my father had been paying down our debts. My sister's student loans, my brother's mortgage, the medical bill I'd buried in shame and never told anyone about. He'd been chipping away at them for years, out of those very envelopes we laughed at, the ones we'd called him cheap for keeping. Every quiet sacrifice we never noticed had been landing in our lives the whole time. He didn't leave us a fortune. He left us free. And then it hit all three of us at the same time. He gave the bulk of his money to strangers because he knew. He knew that a pile of cash split 3 ways would have been gone in 5 years, and it might have taken us with it. But a year of Sundays? 12 dinners at the table where we grew up? That gave us back 40 more years. With each other. I'm older now than my father was in some of my memories of him. And I've spent a long time thinking about what he really taught me that year. So let me hand it to you the way he handed it to me. Money is a tool. It was never meant to be a scoreboard. And it was never meant to be the thing that holds a family together. If you're waiting on an inheritance, the most valuable thing your parents own isn't in a bank. It's the stories they haven't told you yet. The recipes. The reasons. The hard-won street sense. How to read a contract before you sign it. How to tell a good debt from a bad one. How to walk into a bank or a car lot and not be talked into something you'll regret. And the "I'm proud of you" they're saving for a moment that might never come. And here's the part nobody teaches you in school. The most expensive thing most families ever lose isn't money. It's time at the table. So, if you still have parents to call them. Not for the money. For the stories. Ask them the questions while there's still someone there to answer. Write the recipes down. Record their voice telling the old stories. Sit at the table while there's still a table. Because one day, sooner than you think, all that wisdom walks out the door, and no fortune on earth can buy it back. If this story touched something in you, do one thing for me today. Call the oldest person you love and just listen. And if you want more stories like this one, the real lessons from the last generation that lived them, subscribe and stay with us. Because this wisdom, it's worth saving before it's gone.